You've selected Shuffle, and I'm George from the Shuffle Pod, and welcome to week 2 of the Weekday wrap-up show. So, if you guys missed the show last week, stop listening to this one and listen to it, because when I start talking about it, it's not going to make a damn bit of sense if you haven't listened to it. If you had listened to it, you would know that we talked about LARPing, and we talked about Woody. Woody getting a job, actually at that time was still interviewing for jobs. A couple weeks has since passed, because I'll go into this here real quick. DJ's schedule has changed, and he is working midnight shift right now. Woody started a new job, and as you guys know, it wasn't at Pepsi, and I'll go into that here in a second. But we're going to hopefully revisit how we're going to do the show in the future, until DJ's schedule kind of dies down a little bit. And, because when we started this podcast, we started it as just a fun way of, entertainment and everything. So we don't want to keep pushing episodes with just Woody and I, or, minus a member here and there. So we're going to have a meeting this week and talk about how we're going to approach the show. And maybe we'll have to switch up how we release the shows. So we'll give you updates as those updates come. And so enough of the business part. Let's talk about this LARPing. LARPing is live action role playing. And as we talked about on the show, I had made the point that actually LARPing in its purest sense, as a kid when you were I made up that like I was a sports figure, or we'd play war, or cowboys and Indians, and cops and robbers and whatnot, and we were pretending. And I said that was in its purest form, LARPing. The guys kind of disagreed. Woody vehemently disagreed and said LARPing was basically if you're in the woods and beating the shit out of each other with pool noodles and plastic swords and stuff, and there was a point system, and it wasn't just a kid imagining. But also, as you know, Woody might have been a little agitated, because he did interview at Pepsi, and he talks about it openly on the show, so I'm not bringing up anything that, is going to make him mad or anything, but it was hilarious, because he told this story about how he started dropping 2 liters when they did this test. Well, okay, I'm exaggerating. Evidently, he had to put up wheel this dolly full of Pepsi 2 liters to a display, build the display, and he had 160 bottles of Pepsi, or 2-liter bottles, I guess, of Pepsi. He had to build this display, and I guess he was so nervous he started dropping these 2 liters and stuff, and he thought maybe they didn't hire him, weren't interested in him because of maybe experience or driving record, which, baffled him. And DJ kind of broke it to him that, no, you can't be dropping Pepsi bottles and expect to get the job. And so we had fun with that. So if you guys get a chance, if you guys have not listened to that episode, listen to it. It's freaking hilarious when Woody's talking about it and DJ's going back and forth. And during that time, while we were talking, Woody had made reference to the fact that he used DJ as a reference for the job, which I pointedly pointed out was not asked to be Woody's reference. So, as you know, DJ and Woody have this magical relationship. Some might say creepy relationship, but I was not used as a reference. And so that got a lot of traction in the show. We had a good time with that. And evidently I was going to be one of his references, but due to where I work, he couldn't justify me making up how I know him at work. It would have just been kind of an odd situation. So let's get into LARPing. LARPing is live action role playing, and we discussed a lot about LARPing. I kind of gave the history of it, how it started in the 1920s, and built into this whole thing where it's this big, huge business now, where people are building LARP stores and have LARPing web pages, and there's communities and these like theater clubs, but they're LARPing clubs and stuff. And we had talked about how it kind of creeps us out in a way. Now, for everything that creeped us out about LARPing, it did some good for some people. And Vice News actually put out a really nice piece on an autistic kid that how he gets past his some of the barriers that he has socially, due to his autism. Through LARPing, it allows him, and he just immerses himself in this. And the LARPing community where he lives and where he gets to participate in, like, have embraced him. So if you guys haven't got a chance to watch that, you can find it on YouTube. It's Vice News. It's a piece on LARPing. It's actually really good. Then, if you guys want something hilarious on LARPing, you guys should have to check out this Avatar LARPing parody. It is freaking hilarious. It's really well done. Woody actually thought, and Woody is often tricked into thinking things are real when they're not, clearly. But he was tricked into thinking that this was not a parody. DJ broke it to him, just like the Megalodon thing during Shark Week. It wasn't real. It was a parody too, but it was really well done. We also discussed how LARPing has kind of evolved, and it's not just anymore, people, joining in a park and reenacting, scenes from, the Lord of the Rings stuff. It's actually this huge business that where people are making weapons because people do medieval live action role playing, and they wear chainmail, and they make swords and armor and all this stuff, and jousting, and people buy horses and whatnot. Then there's actually, we decided it would be cool if there was a Halo type LARPing thing where you could actually, shoot aliens with paintballs and stuff, and that would be pretty badass. But that would be what we talked about, what we would be interested in if we were to be LARPers. And Woody actually said part of him kind of wants to LARP, but he said it is kind of annoying when somebody never breaks character and, just continues to be their character in real life too. So, and I expressed that, yeah, that shit kind of creeps me out too. So we want to know, what do you guys think about LARPing? Or have you guys, are you, any of our listeners in any LARPing communities, any clubs or anything like that? And if you are, let us know. If you guys have video on it and stuff, feel free to post it on our Facebook page, tweet at us, and yeah, we'd kind of like to, see it and hear about it, and, and maybe you guys could enlighten us. And the other question I had was, and it kind of got brought up for debate, and Woody says no, that he doesn't believe war reenactments would fall under LARPing. I beg to differ, but he said since there is a predetermined situation that's going to happen, like if you are doing a Civil War reenactment, that 20 minutes into it, you're going to, charge a hill, and they're going to shoot, and you're going to go, and you're one of the guys that needs to fall on the battlefield and reenact that, you're a fallen soldier. I said that was kind of like LARPing. He begs to differ and says, nope, it's not. So we wanted to know what you guys thought on that. And so, yeah, hit us up, let us know. Moving on to the podcast that I'm listening to that I think you guys should listen to. I'm going to try to do this every single week and give you guys a new podcast that I've found or that I've listened to for a while. And this week's is a podcast titled What Really Happened. And it's done by Andrew Jenks, who is a documentarian, I think that's the word. And he does a phenomenal job. And some of the writing on what the show is about is it says, history is a version of past events that people have decided to agree upon. Napoleon Bonaparte once famously said, in other words, there are many sides to every story. My God, I can't read. Let me try it again. History is a version of past events that people have decided to agree upon. Napoleon Bonaparte once famously said, in other words, there are many sides to every story. That's much better, and I'm doing it a little bit of credit at that. What this gentleman does is, and he does a absolutely fantastic job at telling a story. He will deliver what the actual story was and how it was delivered. Then he kind of breaks it apart and kind of asks the question, what really happened? In the first episode is about Muhammad Ali, how it was reported that he was a real-life superhero because he saved a man from jumping to his death. And it actually goes into this episode, and I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but it's a phenomenal podcast. I loved it. You guys would love it too, hopefully. And so give it a listen, and actually hit him up on iTunes and tell him that the Shuffle Pod sent you, and hopefully he follows us and gives us a like on iTunes also. So, as you guys know, I'm going to do a song of the week, and that song of the week this week is Redhouse by Jimi Hendrix, and it was released on the album Are You Experienced, which was released May 12th, 1967, and it was recorded on December 13th, 1966. It's in the blues genre, and the producer was Chas Chandler of The Animals, who was Jimi Hendrix's manager, and Jimi wrote this song. It was the first release on the British edition of Hendrix's debut, Are You Experienced, in May 1967. It goes into a very like Elmore James style blues, and I'm going to do my version of it. I don't own the song. I love the song. This is just my interpretation of it. So I hope you guys like this. And let me grab my guitar, turn my amp on, and I'll give you guys my version of it. So hold on one sec. All right. So here we go. This is Redhouse by Jimi Hendrix, and this is my version of it. I'm recording it on my Blue Yeti USB mic, playing it on my favorite Strat that I've since worked over, and yeah, and it's on my Boss Katana. So here we go. Redhouse over yonder, all alone, that's where my baby stays. Redhouse over yonder, alone, that's where my baby stays. Lord, I haven't been home to see my woman. Oh Lord, at night, and I won't have days. Say, wait a minute, something wrong here. Oh Lord, my key won't lock this door. Oh, wait a minute, something wrong here. Oh Lord, my key won't unlock this door. Lord, I got me a bad, bad feeling. Lord, my baby don't live here no more. Said, I'll go back over yonder, where yonder across them hills. Lord, I'll go back over yonder, where yonder across them hills. Well, if she don't want to love me, well, I know a sister will. All right, so that's Redhouse by Jimi Hendrix. I'm George from the Shuffle Pod. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Stay classy, and remember, we take a shallow dive into deep topics. All right, take care, guys. Have a great one.